An old man named Shouzou Saitou asks his wife Ine Saitou what they'd do if they were young again. Shouzou mentioned how they were too poor for a honeymoon when they got married, but Ine was just happy being with him. They went to see an apple tree they planted 60 years ago to celebrate their wedding. Despite being damaged by a typhoon, the tree survived and even had a golden apple on it now. That night, Shouzou saw himself young in the mirror and quickly called for Ine, who was young too. Shouzou excitedly decides to finally take that honeymoon trip they never had right then. Later, their granddaughter Mino visited and was shocked to see them young. She quickly got used to it, even liking her grandpa's new long hair. She told her dad about it, but he didn't understand what she meant. At a cricket game, their friends missed Shouzou and Ine, but were surprised to see them young and energetic. The women were impressed by Shouzou's cricket skills, and the men were surprised by how cute Ine looked serving them tea. A few days before, Shouzou argued with his son Yoshiaki. Yoshiaki wanted them to move in with him because they were getting older. But Shouzou wanted to stay at their home, passed down for generations. Ine told her daughter-in-law Kaede it was okay, as long as she was with Shouzou. Back to the present. When Kaede visited them with some ingredients, she was surprised to see a young Shouzou and left the room blushing. Later, Yoshiaki was trying to understand how his parents became young again. Yoshiaki finally got what Mino said in the car before. Mino really admired her grandpa, who was now young and nice. She even had a fun game called Grandpa Barrier, which made everyone laugh. But Kaede claims that Mino shouldn't play like that, even if it was just make-believe. As they about to go home, Ine noticed her son Yoshiaki looked really tired from work. She gently patted his head, making him feel like a little boy again. Even Mino wants some pats from Ine. As a big sports event between two towns is about to start, everyone was worried because their team was mostly older people, and the other town have two young boys, Shota and Daiki Igarashi. But when they saw Shouzou, now young and strong, they cheered up, thinking they could actually win this time. The competition started, and even though it was tough at first, Ine cheered with pom-poms, and Shouzou felt so pumped up he helped their team win a game. They kept winning, beating the other town in every game. Because Shouzou and Ine knew each other so well, they effortlessly win the game working together. The other town wasn't happy about losing. Grandpa Igarashi from the other town was especially upset because he used to like Ine a long time ago. Now he felt like Shouzou is stealing his happiness again. Ine decided to visit the Igarashi family with some lunch she prepared, since Shouzou was busy being celebrated. As they ate, she talked about old times, even mentioning that Grandpa Igarashi once told her he liked her when they were young. This surprised the Igarashi grandkids, making them see their grandpa in a new light. Next day, Grandpa Igarashi asked Shota to take a thank you gift over to Ina's house. Shota got all nervous when Mino opened the door and invited him inside. Sitting with a tea, Shota couldn't find the words to speak. Even though talking was hard for him, Mino was always so cheerful around him. Meanwhile, Kaede and Ine were secretly watching them. Kaede started worrying about the future, like Mino getting a boyfriend or even getting married one day. But Shouzou was excited at the thought of having great grandkids. Talking to Shouzou, Shota found him really nice, but felt a bit overwhelmed by the attention from Ine and Kaede. As the adults tried to learn more about him, Mino said lots of nice things about Shota, like how smart and athletic he is. This made Ine and Kaede whisper to each other, trying to figure out if Shota would be a good match for Mino. Shouzou asked Shota if he liked any girls, but Ine quickly changed the subject. After saying goodbye, Mino wished she could have talked to Shota more, leaving Shouzou with a secret he felt nervous about. Later, Mino learned her grandma Ine was the one who confessed to Shouzou first. Their love story was special, because they married for love, which wasn't common back then. Shouzou's dad wanted him to marry someone else for the sake of tradition. But after a big fight and thinking about running away, Shouzou and Ine stayed strong together. Ine even faced the girl Shouzou's dad wanted him to marry, telling her she'd never let her have Shouzou. Hearing this, Mino wanted to act out that scene with Ine. She did it, and this made Shouzou and Mino admire Ine even more, seeing how cool she was. Two schoolboys are chatting about how farming isn't cool and is for old people. They dream of moving to Tokyo to make big money and maybe find girlfriends. But then they see Ine, who is surprisingly young and not the old lady they expected to see here. Ine greets the boys warmly, making them blush. Just then, Shouzou pulls up in his minivan to pick up Ine, greeting the boys too. This makes the boys change their minds about farming. Now they think it might be cool after all. Shouzou remembers how Ine once eyed a dress in a flyer, but was too shy to ask for it. Fast forward to now, Shouzou surprises Ine with that dress as a gift. She's so happy that she gives Shouzou a cute hug from behind to thank him. That evening, the couple watches a romance show recommended by Mino. Shouzou finds the kissing scene a bit too much. But Ine is curious and shyly asks Shouzou to try a kabadan, a move where he pins her against the wall. It's something she never experienced when they were young. Shouzou goes for it, and although Ine says she feels nothing because they've been together for 50 years, her heart is secretly racing. Later, Ine's old friend Katja comes over. Mino struggles with Katja's thick accent, but Ine steps in and chats easily with her. Katja then jokes about Mino marrying his grandson, but Ine protectively hugs Mino, saying she's not ready to let her go yet, causing Mino to playfully ask Shouzou if she can marry Ine instead. That night, Ine's granddaughter Shiori is staying over because she had a fight with her dad. He wants her to go into medicine just like him, but she's struggling with her studies. Ine comforts her, saying no matter what happens, she will always cherish her adorable granddaughter. Ine remembers how Shouzou always supported her when she gets sick, imagining taking her to the beach in a swimsuit. Now, young again, Ine thinks about what swimsuit Shouzou would like, but feels shy about wearing one in public. Shiori encourages her, saying she should go for it, since she is now young and pretty again. Flustered, Ine excuses herself to prepare dinner, leaving Shiori to think about her advice. Later, Ine gets a phone call from someone claiming to be Yoshiaki, her son, asking her for money. But Ine knows it's a scammer and record the call and humorously playing along with him. The next day, they watch the news and see the man who tried to scam her get arrested. Ine then notes that calls around 6 are usually suspicious. Ine discovers she doesn't need glasses anymore to see clearly, and Mino finds it incredible. Mino asks Ine to read some words in the newspaper, pointing out words that make Ine say Shouzou is awesome, making them both blush. Ine then turns it back on Mino, making her say something embarrassing too. While watching TV, Mino sees a couple holding hands and asks Ine if she and Shouzou have ever held hands. Ine says they never did it just to show off, and Shouzou adds that when they got old, holding hands was more about helping each other walk. Later, when they go out to buy vegetables, it gets cold. Shouzou notices Ine isn't wearing gloves. He wants to hold her hand but feels shy because he doesn't want Mino to see. Ine is upset that Shouzou didn't catch her hint to hold hands, but she eventually grabs his hand when she notices him reaching out. They then visit their son Takahiro's clinic and tell him they've magically turned young. Takahiro is shocked but runs some tests and confirms it. He recalls how he became a doctor to save Ine from liver cancer, feeling helpless as he watched her grow older and weaker. Now, seeing his mother young and healthy makes Takahiro tear up with joy, feeling like his hard work has finally paid off, even though he didn't cause the change. We then flash back to when Shouzou and Ine first planted their wedding anniversary tree. Years later, a typhoon damaged it, but they fixed it, refusing to let it die, and it grew a golden apple, which she shared the apple with Shouzou later, having a strange feeling that the tree was telling her to eat it. After that, Ine dreams of the tree thanking them and turned into dust. Then an hourglass signifying her age gets turned upside down, and when she wakes up, she is young. Same for Shouzou. Today is their 58th anniversary, and Ine finds a surprise cake in the fridge that Shouzou bought. They both blushing really hard, enjoying the cake together, happy and young again. Shouzou tells Ine he started working on the farm right after elementary school and doesn't remember much about studying. Ine shares that she went to a girls' school in Tokyo, which felt like a dream with endless white rice and running water. However, the war changed everything, and they had to return to the countryside, which felt like a punishment because of all the mud. But meeting Shouzou made the tough times bearable. Shouzou is curious about Ine's life in Tokyo, but Ine decides to keep some stories a secret. Later, they sit with Shiori, who shows them a video game console that's supposed to help prevent dementia. Shouzou is surprised to see it's a zombie game. Shiori doubted her grandparents could handle video games, but they quickly adapt and play like pros, headshotting zombies because they want to minimize their suffering. After a few days of non-stop gaming, they finish the entire game. Mino then visits and is excited to see Shiori, rushing to hug her. But Shiori coldly asks her to stop, revealing that their relationship has cooled. Mino feels hurt and mentions how much Shiori loves her grandparents, living with them. Shiori admits she acts out of obligation, not love, which Shouzou overhears, making him very sad. Mino insists Shiori apologize to Shouzou. Shiori does apologize, confessing she truly loves her grandparents. That night, Shouzou dreams about the hourglass again. A recurring dream since regaining his youth. He accidentally tips over the hourglass, and Shouzou wakes up old again. He worries that Ine might not love him as much now he's not young. Ine reassures him that she loves him no matter what because he is the same Shouzou to her. Shouzou realizes being old isn't bad. It's just a part of life they've lived together. They visit Takahiro's clinic, where he warns them not to overexert themselves due to signs of aging in their kidneys and liver. He's concerned about Ine's youthful body and what will happen if it ages suddenly. Ine isn't afraid of dying but worries about outliving Shouzou and her sons. Despite these worries, Shouzou is full of energy. He and Yoshiaki arm wrestle. Yoshiaki tries to take it easy on him, but when he promises Shouzou a room with an outdoor bath for their honeymoon if he wins, Shouzou gets really excited and wins several rounds. At the market, Shouzou notices people staring because he looks much older than Ine. Feeling awkward, Shouzou tells a store employee they are shopping with their granddaughter, but Ine quickly corrects him, saying she's his wife. She's not upset, but wants everyone to know the truth. Ine asks Shouzou why he lied. She tells him she only wants to be known as his wife. Shouzou apologizes and, trying to lighten the mood, points out some sweets they used to enjoy when they were younger. He mentions Ine stopped eating them in front of him because she worries about his health. When he offers her some, she declines, saying she's not hungry. After Shouzou walks away, Ine secretly starts eating the sweets. Shouzou catches her, and Ine is embarrassed. Shouzou tells her not to worry about him so much, and that seeing her happy eating sweets is the best medicine for him. They share a sweet moment, and Ine opens up about her tough past. She tells Shouzou about losing her parents and living with distant relatives who didn't understand her and mocked her Tokyo accent. She felt alone until Shouzou approached her one day at the local shrine and offered her food without judging her. And over the days, Ine notices Shouzou starts visiting her a lot, and she wonders how a guy without much education can win her heart. Back in the present, they sit together, and Ine tells Shouzou he has completely won her heart over the years. That night, Shouzou dreams about the magical hourglass again. He deduces if he turns the hourglass, he will turn young again, and he notices some sand leaking out of the glass. Sure enough, when he wakes up, he finds himself young again. Ine is calm about it, which surprises him. They discuss whether they will stop aging or even die since they keep turning young. Shouzou explains that the hourglass will eventually run out of sand, and they will age again. He reassures Ine that no matter what, he will never leave her. They embrace, feeling secure in their love, regardless of what the future holds. Two boys are flipping through a sports car magazine and complaining about how there are no cool sports cars in their countryside town. Just then, they meet Ine, who kindly asks them to take a detour tomorrow because the farm is scheduled to be sprayed with chemicals. The boys are charmed by Ine and thank her for the heads up. Just then, Shouzou drives by in his sprayer tractor, which looked like a sports car, and greets the boys. Amazed, the boys joke that maybe there is a sports car in the countryside after all. Later, Shota asks Shouzou to help clear out his grandpa's storehouse. Despite Igarashi isn't happy to see Shouzou, he accepts his help. The storehouse is packed with antiques passed down through the Igarashi family, but Grandpa Igarashi plans to throw everything away. While sorting through the items, Shota discovers a nagamochi, a traditional storage trunk with the family crest. This reminds Grandpa Igarashi of his late wife, and he asks to be alone for a while. Shouzou and Shota step outside, and Shota calls someone who might take care of the antiques they've cleared out. Shouzou then asks Igarashi what he plans to do with the storehouse. Igarashi says he intends to demolish it, as there aren't many people left who can maintain it, and his sons don't plan to take over the farm. Shouzou and Shota then have a heart-to-heart about Shota's future. Shota confesses his dream of moving to Tokyo to become a professional soccer player, but he also feels that taking over his grandpa's farm wouldn't be so bad. He worries that turning his back on the place that raised him would feel wrong. Overhearing this, Grandpa Igarashi is moved to tears and decides to cancel the demolition. Shouzou is also touched by how thoughtful Shota is, and even Igarashi feels embarrassed for crying in front of Shouzou. Meanwhile, in the library, Shiori regrets telling Shouzou it's impossible for him to tutor her since he never finished high school. Surprisingly, she notices Shouzou is also in the library. Curious, she spies on him and sees that he is studying high school textbooks. Shiori remembers that Ine once told her Shouzou didn't avoid high school because he didn't want to go, but because family issues made it impossible. This inspires Shiori to study harder, and she ends up placing 9th on her midterms. She thanks Shouzou for motivating her, which confuses him. Later, Mino overhears her friends talking about a beautiful couple at the farm, referring to Ine and Shouzou. When they ask Mino if she knows them, she denies it and quickly says goodbye, knowing they wouldn't believe her if she told them the truth about who they were. Mino then goes to study with Shota at a restaurant. She asks him if he has done something nice for Shouzou recently, because Shouzou has been saying a lot of nice things about Shota. Shota denies doing anything special. Mino then shares that she thinks a marriage like Shouzou and Ine's is wonderful, and asks if Shota would listen to her troubles. He agrees, but quickly excuses himself to the bathroom, reminding himself this is just a study session, not a date. Later, Mino tells Ine and Shouzou about a cultural festival at her school, and Ine gets excited about the idea of going with Shouzou. However, Shouzou remembers he has a busy schedule and can't attend. Ine decides she won't go either. But Shouzou realizes he made a mistake. The appointments he thought he had are actually the week after next. He asks Ine if she'd like to go to the festival after all, and she excitedly accepts. At the festival, Shouzou notices how happy Ine seems, looking forward to the event, Suddenly, a group of students surrounds them, and one accidentally spills a drink on Ine. The student apologizes and offers Ine fresh clothes from the fashion design club. The club members dress Ine up in a school uniform, amazed at how well it suits her. Outside, Shouzou recalls a conversation with Ine about her love for music and how she used to play various instruments, feeling a bit sad that he couldn't witness those performances. When Ine finishes changing, Shouzou walks into the room and is stunned to see her in the school uniform. They enjoy festival foods together in the classroom, and Ine can't help but revert to her old high school demeanor while dressed in the uniform. Shouzou and Ine engage in playful banter, pretending they are high school students meeting for the first time. Shouzou teases Ine by asking if she likes someone. She replies, "None," surprising Shouzou. Ine then laughs and teases Shouzou about his weak Riz game. They visit Mino's class, which is set up as a maid cafe. The cafe isn't very busy because the class next door got help from a renowned ramen chef, drawing most of the crowd. Shota suggests using Shouzou to attract more customers, especially the older ladies. Dressed in a handsome butler outfit, Shouzou helps increase the cafe's popularity, with many older customers coming to see him serve tea. Afterwards, Shouzou and Ine explore the school history section. Ine spots some of her former classmates in the photo display. This prompts Shouzou to reflect on his father's decision to have him give up studying to become a farmer, as he is the eldest son. He isn't saddened by this memory, feeling grateful instead, because it led him to Ine and their marriage, which makes Ine blush. Students around them record this sweet moment. Later, Shota looks for an opportunity to ask Mino to join him at the bonfire. When Shouzou notices Shota waiting, he tactfully pulls Ine away to give Shota his chance. Though Ine was looking forward to watching Mino dance around the bonfire, Shouzou advises her that it's best not to intrude too much on their granddaughters. That night, Ine experiences the hourglass dream again. She accidentally trips and hits her head on the hourglass, breaking it. When Shouzou wakes up, he finds himself old again but doesn't immediately realize it. He greets Ine, who has lost all her memories of Shouzou and appears in her 20s with black hair, leaving Shouzou utterly stunned.